So I'm speaking to Sean Peck from Death Dealer, as well as so many other bands. Um, so you say you're a real estate agent. How do you find time to front all these bands?
No, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm in involved in
Oh,
finance,
you're
and
involved with finance of real estate. Okay.
you can do a lot of the wrangling over the phone. So no matter if I just was telling a story in another interview where we were backstage at some show in Slovakia playing with this satanic metal band fronted by like an 80-year-old satanic monk, and he was in there setting up a shrine and lighting candles and mumbling it. And I was talking to a lady about her financing, and I'm like, if this lady could only see me now that I'm like backstage
That's
in
awesome.
this scene, dressed in leather with this 80-year-old satanic monk doing a ritual, maybe they would have chosen a different way to go. But
No,
luckily, it wasn't a video call.
well, maybe not. Speaking of satanic, what was it like working with Denner and Sherman? I just watched the Flying V DVD last night, and I mean, was it cool doing Merciful Fate songs with them, or?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, did you know that I narrated that? That was me narrating the Flying V documentary.
I did not know that. That is
Yeah,
interesting. Why did they do it in black and white? All those great interviews with all those great artists and everything's in black and white.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it was cool. It was cool. I was glad that they asked me to narrate it, and I helped them, rewrite some of the stuff and for some better copy. So that was kind of fun to be involved in that. But as far as is jamming with me, being a huge King Diamond, Merciful Fate fanboy, like most respected, self-respecting metalheads are. It was incredible, and I was able, working those songs with Hank Sherman and crafting stuff that was, you know, that really was able to capture the Merciful Fate vibe
Right, right.
that they hadn't really captured that vibe in most of their other side endeavors,
Yeah,
and we were
Force
really.
of Evil did not sound like Merciful Fate at all, but it was still great. It just didn't sound like Merciful Fate.
Yeah, and it was really cool to be, because I was like attacking that stuff, as a fan. Like, what if I'm picking up this Masters of Evil album? What do I want the song titles to say? What do I want it to feel and sound like? So I totally came at it from that angle, man. And we made some magic. So maybe one day we can ride that train again. But yeah, I mean, I'm a Christian, and I'm going up there singing, "All hail Satan," So I had to tell Lord, I'm like, hey, Lord, this is all a game. It's all for entertainment.
Tom
Just
Tom
say a little prayer before you go on stage. But,
Tom Araya
but
did it for 35 years. He's a Catholic. He goes to church, but he still gets up there and sings about
yeah,
Satan. It's just like Alice Cooper. It's a stage show. Speaking of
yeah,
state
it's a stage show.
Speaking of
And
stage
I,
show,
I like writing about the occult, and I like writing about demons and all that stuff. So I love horror movies, but it
yeah,
was
yeah.
fantastic, man. Getting up there and be able to sing Evil, and or the early shows, we were doing a heavy dose of Merciful Fate, like 6 to 8 songs a night.
Wow.
So it was cool to throw out my King Diamond impersonation and see people's eyes light up. It was great.
What's your favorite Merciful Fate track?
Oh boy, a lot of the ones that we never did. I like, Princess, or was it Princess of Hell? I like playing Black Funeral is always awesome because the place just always lights up and hitting those big notes.
Yes, some serious
And I
vibes.
really became a big fan of Into the Coven too, that whole guitar intro. And then once I actually realized the lyrics of what they were saying, like me and the bass player always make fun, like undress until you're naked. And we're
Yep.
like, oh, I didn't really quite know that's what this.
Yeah.
So, that was a great time, man, and I love those guys.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, you have even with Cage, you have the King Diamond, the song King Diamond, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, it is. It's theatric. I've seen you on stage on several occasions. I saw you at Warriors of Metal, and then I saw you in Cleveland the night before after that performance. And you are so animated, and you just your performance when you're on stage, no matter what you're doing. I wish I would have seen you with Denner and Sherman, because seeing you with Cage is just amazing. My friends said they caught you with the Three Tremors, and the same thing. You're so animated on stage. Plus, you're so cool with meeting the fans afterwards and everything. Speaking of Cage, what the hell is this Science of Annihilation Reannihilated? I have the original Science of Annihilation, including the T-shirt, but what's this Reannihilated? I mean, did you guys re-record it or?
Yeah, that's that was the first album we did by ourselves before we kind of knew how to record albums.
Okay.
And it kind of sounds like that. That's my favorite Cage record.
Wow.
So we went back in and we had our new drummer Sean Elge re-record all the drums, and then we had to, and then we patched up some of the guitars. I had to sing a couple things again, and remixed and remastered the whole thing. This isn't just like a remaster trying to milk money,
Right,
putting
right.
something out that's got a different a different color vinyl or something. Yeah, it's a full on remixed, remastered, and a lot of it re-recorded. And then we put on some bonus tracks too, and now it sounds great, man. I love it. You can hear stuff you couldn't hear before, and I'm glad we were able to give that the have it the justice done to that album that it should be. We might redo Astrology, and we might redo
Ooh,
Supremacy
Astrology.
of Steel, because both those albums sound like hell too.
Astrology is my favorite Cage album. I'd love you guys to redo
Oh,
that. That's the first time I ever saw you live. Was at Classic Metal Fest, I think in 2001.
oh my God.
When you did, yeah, Astrology had just come out. I think you did the Sabotage cover of Dungeons Are Calling, and yeah, I know it was like in the middle of the afternoon, but still, that's how I first discovered Cage, and I bought every album since, but I didn't buy this
Oh,
because
dude, thanks.
this album's not on CD though. This is just digital, right?
It's yeah, it's out of print, so that's another reason we might go back and revisit that, because
Okay.
you can't get it. And that album was an important record for it. I'm about to do a video on the trials and tribulations of recording that album, because it's a crazy story, like what I went through doing that record. Because we're gonna redo it again, but we basically remixed it twice, and it still is very average. Working with professionals too. So that I'm going to do a YouTube video on the Steel Cartel channel telling my crazy story about working on that record. Probably in the next 30 days, I'll put that out. But yeah, man, I remember that show that we played in Kalamazoo.
Yeah,
We
Kalamazoo,
took
right?
we took the red eye and like landed in at like 6 a.m. We went to our hotel. We just tucked ourselves in our beds to take a nap, and they called like, "This thing's gonna get shut down. You gotta come down here
Yep,
right now and
yep,
play."
yep.
And we ran down there on no sleep. We're like 30 hours straight, and did it, and we recorded that. There's a live recording of that show that's floating around out there.
Oh, really? I remember he sent me, because I contributed to the cause and stuff like that. He sent me some VHS tapes of recordings of all bands that played. So I might have like two songs. I think you guys did a Sabotage cover, though. 'Cause I think that's what I have as a Sabotage cover.
Man, if you could send that to me, I'd love to put that up on online. That'd be great.
It's on VHS. I don't have any way of transferring it. We're talking 2001, but if I find a way of transferring it, I definitely, because the Manila Road played that festival, and just so many bands played that festival. Speaking of seeing shows, I saw Hellstar with Flotsam, I think last year, and I think one of the members of Hellstar said he was in Cage. Is that he was just touring with Hellstar, or?
Yeah, they took our guitar player Casey Trask and our drummer Sean Elge, and they did the whole tour for them because their guys had to work or something. So
Okay.
those guys were also about to do the Steve Grimmett Grim Reaper tour until that got
Oh, and so
canceled.
everything.
So
Yeah, right.
everyone is trying to steal my band members. That's kind of what's going on right now.
Yeah, because those guys are also the musicians for Three Tremors, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about Conquered. Let's talk about Conquered Lands, and let's talk about the brand new Death Dealer. First of all, there's more than one band called Death Dealer. I mean, what made you and Ross the Boss and Stu Marshall like decide on that name, Death Dealer?
Well, there was the Canadian band, that's actually really, they put out some killer albums.
Right. Right.
And they were, defunct, and the trademark was abandoned. And that's how it started. Was Stu Marshall called me up. It's like, let's make a band called Death Dealer. And I'm like, dude, that name's got to be taken. There's no
Right.
way that name is. And he's like, no, man, it's this Canadian band, and they're not even active anymore, and the trademark's available. I'm like, So I went ahead and trademarked the name, and we started rolling with Death Dealer, and now we're the Death Dealer. But all respect to those guys, and totally acknowledge that they had some really cool records. And then they released another one. The guy from Hellion Records in Germany called me up and said, we're putting out this album. I'm like, and I go, yeah, go ahead and put it out. I don't give a shit. So I just kind of, I was like, do I want to deal with stuff? And I go, you know what? Let's just let the metal flow. Let them put their record out. It was cool.
Right, right. And there was also a band, Death Dealer, in the '80s. I remember they were on Metal Blade,
Well,
DEAF.
they're the same. They're the same band.
Oh, that is the Canadian band, Death Dealer and Death Dealer?
Yeah,
Okay, it is.
yeah.
I
They
thought
changed their
so.
name from Death Dealer to Death Dealer,
I
and then
thought
back to
so. I
Death
thought
Dealer.
that
So
was
that's
it.
kind of
Yeah.
very, very strange, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that was good stuff then. Yeah, that was good stuff. Remember that on Metal Blade compilations. Well, anyway, your Death Dealer is, I don't want to say super group because it's such there's so many bands that have so many different musicians. Basically, your band is Ross the Boss, and now you got, Stu Marshall, who's been the founding member from Dungeon, but now you got Mike LePon joining, who's also in Ross the Boss. Um, is that kind of cool, working now with Steve Valonis and working with Mike LePon and obviously Ross the Boss? I mean, it's like basically Ross the Boss band, or I mean, how does
Well,
that?
what happened was, Ross the Boss stole our drummer. So
That's what I
Steve
thought. That's what he told me. Yeah.
Bolognese was in Death Dealer, and then Ross the Boss stole him from Death Dealer. So we decided to steal Mike LePon from Ross the Boss. It only seemed like the fair thing to do. If he stole our drummer, we would steal his bass
Yeah.
player. So,
And Ross
uh,
the Boss put out a brand new album this year, despite all the craziness. And then Mike LePon, of course, Silent Assassins, which I just absolutely love.
yeah, it's great.
I interviewed Mike a couple months ago. He's just such a great guy. So yeah, it's cool. And yeah, on the new album, Steve is just wow. The drums are just incredible. From the opening track that you guys did the lyric video for, with the whole Marvel theme for Sorcerer Supreme, just through tracks like 2, 4, 8, and 10. I mean, it's just absolutely punishing. Now, are you the main lyricist for all this?
Yeah, I write all the lyrics and the melodies and help arrange the songs and come up with. I actually come up with a lot of riffs too sometimes.
Really? Do you play guitar as well?
No, I just go, Stu, try it,
Okay.
and then he'll figure it out, and away we go. And then we'll decide whether it sucks or we want to keep working with it. And I do that a lot for Cage. I'll come up with tons of riffs on all the Cage stuff.
Yeah, because I thought Dave Garcia wrote all the music, but okay, so you come up with riffs and just kind of.
I come up with, yeah, it's me and the two guitar players like put together everything for the Cage stuff.
It's kind of cool that you just do that, and then they can just emulate that based on what you do. It's so interesting
Yeah.
hearing you speak, because hearing your voice. I mean, you reach such a high octave and you have such a high pitched voice. It's the same with Tim Ripper. It is like you don't expect like a regular voice. You expect more like a high pitched voice because you guys you can sing so high. Now, since you're the main lyricist, were you inspired by a lot of what happened with 2020? It seems like maybe every nation might be something that it's kind of like what we're dealing with right now with the division in the U.S. and all the different politics. Is that kind of what inspired that song, or?
That song was kind of more about like, if everyone in the world was a metalhead, like we wouldn't have any of these problems. It's
Kind of
like,
got that
because
vibe,
metal
yeah.
people, if you see someone, wearing an Iron Maiden shirt at 7-Eleven, you look at them and you're like, what's up? It doesn't matter if they're freaking gay, pink hair, amputee, freaking it doesn't matter what they are. Like if they got a metal shirt on, we don't like metal people. We're an um advanced society and a higher level of human being. Like we don't have any prejudices. It's all metal is the founding principle of our existence, and that was kind of what that song was going after. They're just like, man, it's too bad we're not full of metalheads, because we wouldn't have any of these problems.
Right. Well, I'm actually Metal Milieu on Facebook, and that's exactly what the Metal Milieu is. It's the gathering and the group and the fellowship of people who are into metal, but also metal as in strength and power and desire and will, and which all metalheads are. Speaking of Facebook, you no longer have your individual face. You actually have like an actual Facebook page, like you're like a musician now.
Yeah, I mean, I have my personal one. I do have the fan page or whatever too, but I still have the personal page.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't. I looked for it. I didn't see it, but yeah.
I'm in there.
Okay. Because you used to always respond to so many of my of everything. Your post and my posts were just. It was funny. I know there was the whole controversy over Mastodon saying that Judas Priest wasn't metal, and it was just so
Yeah.
fun to just the bricker-bat that we had back and forth for that, especially with Rob Halford's book coming out Tuesday with Confess and all the controversy that's going with that, and how just like how can Mastodon even say that? But talking about being metal and all that stuff, then that goes right into Running with the Wolves, which is just about metalheads getting into the pit, getting in there, being really strong, getting in front, bang your head against the stage, that kind of thing. Is that also just like what it's like to go to a Death Dealer show where the fans just all get there? Does that sound like something that Keep It True did or something? Or
Yeah, Stu came. Stu, when he'll put together, a song or a piece, an idea, he'll do a reference name, and that was the reference name of the song, "Running with the Wolves." And I'm like, all right, that sounds cool. Let's just keep that name. I came up with a chorus, and I'm like, okay, what the hell am I going to write this song about? And I just started doing it. All of our records seem to have songs like this, like where you're just writing about heavy metal, and it's like, Death Dealer, we're, a badass group of heavy metal people. We're going to rock you and come to the party and, look out and all. Just that kind of generic,
Kiss
Death
lyrics?
Dealer's a heavy metal street gang. And it was fun, man, right? After I was done with it, I was just cracking myself up as I wrote the lyrics to that one. And, I'm like, maybe I'll have to change some of these lyrics, and we just kept them. Like, nah, man, keep it. This is great. We have a music video coming out to that one too.
Oh,
In a few
good,
weeks.
good. That's good to hear. Yeah, some people are already saying online and stuff that it's a cover, and I'm a cover. No, it's an original. People are like, oh, they're doing a cover of that song "Running with the Wolves." I'm like, no, it's an original. And I'm glad you're doing a video for it, and I'm glad people get to hear it because it's definitely a heavy metal, raise your fist in the air type, get in the pit type song.
Yeah.
But then you got really fast, heavy songs, like just insane songs like "Slay to Be Slain." That it's like God, the drumming that Steve does and the guitar work, the trade off between Stu and Ross, and I mean that's just wow, that's just crazy.
That's cool. Yeah, that one was one I was trying to work that as a Cage song, and I just couldn't. We couldn't. I had to. That song went through a lot of metamorphosis because the verses I had, we just couldn't get. I couldn't jive my idea with the guitar player's idea, and then I finally he came up with another idea, and I adjusted my thing. But the final iteration of that song came out really cool. That was one where it's just like, okay, I'm in a band with Ross the Boss. I have to have a song about barbarian carrying a sword into battle. It's like you got to have at least one of those songs on your album if you're in a band with Ross the Boss, and that's definitely that song. And yeah, I'm glad you like it. I haven't talked to many people that have heard the record, so this is good to hear.
Oh
All
yeah,
this
I've
stuff.
played it like 15 times already.
Oh,
Actually,
nice, man.
right before you called, I was playing War Master, but I played Conquered Lands like 15 times already. As soon as she sent me a digital, which I'm so grateful for when somebody sends me a digital download. In today's day and age, at least I can burn it, and I burned it with some older tracks from War Master. And yeah, I play it and play it and play it because I know Cage very well. I know Three Tremors. I'm pretty familiar with all the Ross the Boss stuff, and so I try to people say, well, what does it sound like? Is it better than War Master and Hollowed Ground? I'm like, well, what's better? I mean, it's got elements of all of the it's also got elements of Ross the Boss, even elements of Old Dungeon. I'm a big fan of Ilium. So it's good that and Lord. So it's good that these Australian bands, especially Stu Marshall, bring that Australian vibe to it. And then of course, Steve's drumming is just so intense and so powerful.
Yeah.
And then even with Sorcerer Supreme, my friend, he's like, well, can you give me a taste of them? I'm like, well, check out the lyric video for Sorcerer Supreme. And I love the way you guys you address the lyrics with the Marvel Universe, with the different characters from the Marvel Universe, because it's not your typical sword and sorcery type thing. It actually steps out like the whole Doctor Strange and everything that's going on with that. That's pretty cool too. And the artwork on that is phenomenal. Did you come up with a graphic design for that, or?
For the lyric video?
Yeah.
We used, I don't know if this guy's got to be the best in the business. He just did that Painkiller lyric video for Judas Priest.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, I was like, wow, Painkiller lyric video for a song that's 30. Okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
same guy.
this
Okay.
dude is like, yeah, he totally got it. I'm always, when it comes to videos and artwork, I'm a big comic book guy, so
Right.
I'm try to, I don't micromanage it, but I definitely, lead guys in the right direction and kind of brainstorm ideas. That's part of the fun. And he came up the whole chorus of that lyric video when the frickin' sorcerer, and then, like the zooming in on his face, and like the spells are in his eye. I just love that part. He did a great job on that lyric video, and it's we don't have a built-in subscriber thing, and we've got 30,000 views like in the first 2 weeks, which is
That's
really
awesome.
good for not having an instant. Those are organic, on their own. We don't have a 2 million subscriber base like Nuclear Blast has, where
Right, right,
they're
right.
guaranteed numbers. So it's really good, and the pre-order is going really well too.
That's
One thing
fantastic.
I don't know if you know this, this only 3 songs on this album are going to be into the public, are going to reach the streaming sites. That people need to know this, that we're taking a stand against streaming. We're kind of championing being kings of the physical medium. Our
Yes.
booklets, our artwork, our pre-order packages are like packed full of like the highest quality artwork and stuff. Our digipack is a 16 panel booklet, all custom artwork. It looks insane. And only 3 songs, Running with the Wolves, Every Nation, and Source of Supreme, are going to hit streaming. If you want to hear this album, you have to support the fan and buy it somehow. So we are,
That's
a lot of
awesome.
people talk trash, and then their album just comes out streaming, and this is how the future is going to be for us. It's going to be, you want to hear it, you got to support the band.
Sean, I respect that so much because I'm all about physical media. And I saw your post yesterday where you kind of quoted Stan Lee, but it's just like, you want to have a
I've been ripping that off in
but
every
yeah, you want
interview.
to hold tits in your hand. You want to hold tits in your hand. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at tits, and tits are great, but when you can touch them and you can, hold them in your hand and maybe even squeeze them and do other things like lick them, and suck on them, that's what it's all about. And that's the same thing with physical media. I want a CD. Rob Halford, they sent me the stupid digital download for the book. I want the physical book to hold in my hand to read. These PDF files just don't cut it. So yeah, that's great. You picked 3 great songs: Every Nation, Sorcerer Supreme, and Running with the Wolves. That's actually 3 I would have picked too. But
Well, the reason we're doing that is because there's going to be a lyric video for Every Nation. There's already a lyric video for Swords of Supreme, and there's a music video for Running with the Wolves. So
that's awesome.
that's how it's going on. I can tell you something else also, though, about the future. So we have already finished the 4th Death Dealer album. The 4th
Damn.
album's already done.
Wow.
The 5th Death Dealer album is almost done. So,
The
so
fifth.
we have been just cranking material like crazy, and to go along with the physical medium concept, for the next Death Dealer album, the CD is going to come with a DVD or a Blu-ray, or we might even do a UHD, high def version of this, where every song is going to have a lyric video done by the same guy, like a really
Oh,
high
wow.
quality, kick-ass original material lyric video. But only 3 of those are going to hit the public. So if you want to see all this killer content, again, you're going to have to buy the 4th Death Dealer album, because there's no way you're going to see those other 9 lyric / music videos besides buying the physical product. So that's our next move, man. We're putting out basically a Death Dealer freaking movie for the whole album, that when you get the album, you can just put it in your Blu-ray player and just crank it and enjoy like a spectacle.
Wow, kind of like Metallica when they released their last album, they did videos for every single one. Wow, so
Yeah.
a 4th Death Dealer, is that already planned for 2021? Because we're talking November
Yeah.
13th for Conquered Lands, and that's coming to the end of this, and we don't even know if there's going to be a 2021 with all that's going on. But that's good. That's good that you're doing that, especially pushing for physical, pushing for people to get back to what we love. And that was so cool to find out you did the narration on flying. The flying. I'm so glad they got so many artists. There's a few that I think they omitted. I don't know. Maybe other members weren't available. Rudolph Schenker and some of the other guys, maybe they just weren't available. At least you got Matthias Jobs. But I mean, there's a couple other guys that do fly the V that I think that should have been included that weren't. I don't know about Michael Amott deserving already to be in there, but whatever. That's just my opinion. But anyway, it was cool to see that. But I had no idea you did the narration because once again, I didn't expect expect your voice to be so deep. I've talked to you in the past, and I've done interviews, but I guess I forgot how, your voice is more like it's not high pitched, and that's so cool. I remember when I talked to Ross the Boss in the early part of the spring, when he just released his album on AFM, he already told me about the next one being done too. So, and now with, I guess, so much time on our hands, I mean, I guess that's something you can definitely do. Now, let me ask you this: will you ever include the We Three Kings? Speaking of Rob Halford and Confess and his Christmas album last year, will you ever include the We Three Kings single as a bonus track on anything? Because once again, that's only available digitally.
That's a good idea. Maybe now that you mentioned that, we should have thought of that for this time.
Well, for the fourth album.
Because we had room on the vinyl, and we were looking for stuff to put on. But yeah, we should. I'm gonna jot that down. Great idea. We should definitely share that. We have a recorded version of Hail and Kill that we were going to put out, but we pulled back on that. One day we got to put that out. We recorded an original version of that. That's awesome.
Are you doing you doing the Manowar song on vocals?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'd love to hear that.
And I'm like blasting on that thing. I want someone to hear it, and they're like, no, let's wait. I'm like, shit. Okay, so that's got to come out one day, and then yeah, I mean, we did that song, and then I sang on my own. What Child Is This? Because I love the Johnny Mathis Christmas stuff. And then there's another Christmas song by Emerson Lake.
Really?
Father Christmas or something. I dig that song.
Yeah. Okay, I've heard that. Yeah.
I might do my own version of that and just put that out on the internet one day. But yeah, good idea. I'm going to write that down right now.
Jethro Tull has some kick-ass Christmas songs too. So you've pretty much stuck with Steel Cartel, and I've actually got the Japanese version, which mine is on Rubicon, because I wanted those two bonus tracks. I wanted the Face the Executioner and the other one. But let me ask you this: My Hallowed Ground is on a Sweden music group. So is that a version of Steel Cartel? Because that wasn't Steel Cartel.
Well, what happened was, we did Steel Cartel for the War Master album. And then we got with a Swedish music group, and they put out the Cage, Ancient Evil, and the Hollowed Ground. And then they kind of ran into,
issues,
money problems, and reorganization. And they were going to do the Three Tremors. They were all excited. We met about it. We listened to it, and they were going to do the new Death Dealer. And we had that Three Tremors European tour booked, and they were just lagging. And I finally said, you know what? I'm going to just commit to the whole Steel Cartel thing. And now we have, I have at least 3 releases next year coming out. The new Three Tremors is already done.
Oh my God, new Three Tremors is done too?
Yeah.
So you, Harry and Tim have already put that all wow, man, you are busy.
And so there's probably going to be a Cage next year too, because we're deep into the new Cage. So next year there'll be a new Death Dealer, a new Cage, and a new Three Tremors. And then I've got some friends bands that I'm putting out on the label. So it's fun, man. We put a lot of money into. I'll never get this kind of advertising from a third party label. I mean, we've got half-page ads in 9 European big magazines. Like, that would never happen on a Metal Blade or a Nuclear Blade. We might get a postage stamp.
Right. Yeah, could you just be a tax write-off to them?
It's fun, man. It's it's a lot of work, but it's been successful. I mean, the Three Tremors sold incredible. That we moved a ton of units for that. The pre-order is starting off really, really good for the Conquered Lands album, and people love that album cover, man. That album cover alone is probably going to move a lot of units.
Definitely better than the Iron Maiden Legacy of the Beast live in Mexico album cover for the thing coming out a week after your album. That's one of the worst Iron Maiden album covers ever, and I thought the last one was one of the worst. But at least the music and the songs are good. But yeah, no, Steel Cartel, the packaging on the Three Tremors stuff, whether it's the actual album or the one where you guys do all the songs individually, is so amazing. The packaging on the Cage, the stuff they've done.
Yeah, I've got Tremors solo pack looked incredible.
I know they did. I always get the CD. I don't get the vinyl, but I've heard the vinyl is pretty killer too. So
no, we didn't do a vinyl for the solos.
Okay.
That would have been like 6 freaking.
Yeah, it would have been like 6. Yeah,
six discs.
Yeah, right. Because it was 3 discs. It was 3 discs for the solos. Because then it was you, Harry, and Tim each doing your individual parts,
Yeah.
and then there was the first one, which was the actual album where you guys, trade off, which was just amazing, and yeah, so wow, so you've already got new Cage, you've got another Death Dealer, and then wow, you are keeping very
We
busy.
have two other Death Dealers and 1-3 Tremors.
How do you remember all these lyrics? Because when I saw you do Cage stuff, I mean, you have a lot of vociferous words. You've got a lot of lyrics. So how do you remember all that?
I don't know, man. I'm good at remembering lyrics. I remember when I did the Warrior gig, like I didn't use any freaking notebooks, nothing, man. I went up and sang all those songs. I think I wrote 2 lines on my hand, like I used to cheat in college by writing a couple pieces of information on my hand. But yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to reach the point where I need a teleprompter. The only time I screw up lyrics is when I start daydreaming on stage. I'll be thinking like, oh man, we got to get the bus. I'll be in the middle of the show and I'll be like, okay, if we get our merch done, and then the line will come up. I'm like, oh shit, where are we? So that's the only time I mess up is when I start ADHDing in the middle of the show.
Wow. And you're no spring chicken. I mean, you're what, 53?
Yeah, I'm 53.
That's
I'm no spring
amazing.
chicken.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm going to be 52, so I get it. So speaking of Warriors, so like, you get up there and do all the songs from Fighting the World. I mean, you just know the lyrics.
Well, I mean, I only did those 2 shows with Warrior. What's a shame is like with Warrior. Speaking of which, um, I kind of got those guys motivated. I'm like, hey, why don't? Because once we'd done those shows, we wrote like 3 or 4 songs,
Oh,
and then
okay.
those guys got all. I'm really, you can see how prolific I am, man. And once I put
Yeah,
my mind to something, I make it a reality. And
definitely.
those guys are a little scattered, and you know, I don't know if they're quite used to my leadership skills. I'm like, man, we had some songs, and then I was just kind of talking with them, and I go, hey, why don't we just do an EP for the fun of it? And they're like, yeah, let's do an EP. And I put out a little message on the Warrior page, we're going to do an EP, and everyone went apeshit over it. And then they reached out to Perry McCarty, the original singer, and
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
and he all of a sudden he wanted to do the EP, which it's obviously better for them to have, the real Warrior singer.
Right.
But I haven't heard a peep out of them. That was almost, that was like 6-7 months ago. We'd already had it out by now. But
Wow.
I was asked. I hit the guitar player lives here in San Diego, and I'm like, how's the EP coming? And they're just so slow doing anything. But anyways, it was good that I could at least motivate them to supposedly get something to happen. We'll see if anything happens. The other thing is that Hank Sherman stuff. I mean, like, we wrote so fast together and so good. And I saw some posts like a couple months ago that said he had 6 songs. They needed to be rearranged, and there were no vocals or any melody lines to any of them. And that was after 18 months. And I'm like, dude, we would have had like 4 albums done in 18 months the way we were writing. Like, you got 6 songs in 18 months with no lyrics, no vocals, and need to be rearranged. It's just like, I don't think there'll ever be another King Diamond album that comes out.
Yeah. Oh, I know. That last King Diamond single was kind of lacking. And yeah, Michael Denner had another band. He put out something earlier this year, but it wasn't that great. But
Denner's Inferno.
yeah, that's it. Isn't Joe Floyd the only original member in Warrior other than if they get Perry back?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean,
okay.
they kind of have their SoCal lineup that they've had for a while,
Right, right.
even though they're not originals. But I don't think any of that. I don't know if that'll ever happen. And those guys, Joe's making his guitars, and the other guitar players like deep into his real estate world. And
Okay, yeah.
I just wanted to do it for fun, man. I was like,
Of
hey, man,
course,
let's
yeah. I remember
let's.
getting a Warrior album with Mark Storace from Crocus going, this isn't fighting the world.
I was supposed to sing on that one. They wanted me to
Really?
sing on that. Yeah, I just got done recording "Darker Than Black" with Joe Floyd's studio,
Okay.
and they're like, dude, like, we want you to sing on this new Warrior, and I came off "Darker Than Black," which is like a freaking
Yeah,
masterpiece.
my second
And
favorite
I was
Cage
kind of
album.
listening to the material, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just coming off this "Darker Than Black" album. You want me to sing these songs? And then I was like, I was asking for crazy money, and they're like, we can get Ian Gillan for that kind of money. I'm like, yeah. So I kind of didn't want to do it. And, but we actually did Wars of Gods and Men off that song, I actually love that song when we played live. So that was cool. I got to kind of play the song that I liked. but yeah, they really wanted me to record that album.
That's cool. Yeah, Astrology and Darker Than Black are my two favorite Cage, but that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's just so cool to hear all that. I had no idea that you were even involved in Warrior, and because I mean, like you said, you got your finger in so many pies, and you're doing so much, and you just constantly keeping up, and how you remember all those lyrics and all those melodies, and when you sing, you don't just sing, you act it out on stage, and especially when it's like a concept album or something, you're a little like King Diamond, but obviously King Diamond is a huge influence on you and everything. So yeah, and it's so cool that you've got to work with Denner and Sherman. Now you get to work with Ross the Boss. You did a Manowar cover. You just staying very busy, keeping going. Your voice still sounds amazing. And like you say, you don't need a teleprompter, so that's kudos for all that.
Well, I'm glad you like the record, man. That's
I
good to
do.
hear. Like I said, I've only talked to one other person that's listened to the record, so
Yeah.
it's hard for me to judge this when I've been sitting on it so long. The Conquered Lands album we had pretty much done 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, and then, so we kind of just sat on it, and then we finally got together and go, let's finish it, and finished all the songs and wrote a few more, and it was time to reactivate Death Dealer again because it was a good opening spot for all of our schedules. So
Yeah.
we're excited, man. I'm glad to hear that you liked it.
Definitely. Well, when I spoke to Ross I think it was in February, when he was coming out with his new album, he told me it was done too. He's like, "Oh, it'll be out soon." Well, that's before everything happened and went down, of course. So, but that's cool, and I'm glad you guys are staying busy and keeping going. But yeah, I mean, it's a great group of musicians putting out good. It's interesting they call you guys power metal because you're just metal and you're just good quality '80s vibe type metal. But people say, what does it sound like? And I hate to say it, but it sounds like Cage, Ross the Boss, Dungeon, and the three drummers, because that's your vocals, and then that's Ross's guitar style, that's Stu's guitar style. I don't really hear any of Mike LePon's type stuff. Definitely not Symphony X, or the Silent Assassins or anything like that. But you can definitely hear his bass, and there's parts where you hear his bass. It's just amazing. Now, in closing, did he come in and put in the bass parts since the album was already done, or how did that work?
Yeah, he came in and recorded bass on all the tracks, and it was like literally the first time a bass player came in where I was just like, oh man, that's killer. Normally for me the bass tracks get laid, I'm like, all right, sounds good, and it's just kind of there. But I mean, he's so musical. I mean,
Yes, he
he actually
is.
added a lot to these songs.
I
And it
bet.
was fantastic to have him on it. And he's already, like I said, recorded the fourth album and some of the fifth album. And so his musicianship is like, oh man, that's cool. We didn't think of that there. So he's definitely raised the game on stuff. And yeah, as far as the power metal thing, we're a mix of everything. Like there's some epic power metal moments, there's a lot of thrash, there's
You're speed metal for
straight
sure.
ahead heavy metal, especially on this fourth album. I mean, you're going to hear songs that sound like Anthrax, you're going to hear freaking all kinds of stuff. And but it's the main important ingredient that we have. What Ross likes a lot is the songs are good. You'll listen to this album and you'll go, oh yeah, you'll actually remember a couple
Oh
songs.
yeah, absolutely.
I listen to a lot of new music too, and like you listen to the album, you're like, that was killer, but I don't really remember like
Yeah,
any one
walk away with it.
moment.
Yeah, a year later, you go, okay, I remember that album. You're trying to remember like a single song or even the title of the album. Yeah, I mean, because like I'll be listening to some Styx or some Leonard Skinner and stuff, and in a second, the lyrics. Listen, you need to cover "Heavy Metal is Poisoning" by Styx. No band has covered "Heavy Metal is Poisoning" by Styx. I just love that song, but
Hmm,
yeah, it's just such a great. I remember as a kid hearing that song, and it's just. But I
I'll have to
listened
check
to.
it.
Yeah, it's on Kilroy Was Here. "Heavy Metal is Poisoning" by Styx. But I'm gonna post about it. Like heavy metal, some metal band needs to cover this great song. But yeah, you listen to Styx, you listen to Skinner, you listen to Bad Company, and those songs just stick with you. But you're right. I go through so much music and I hear so many things, and then like a year later, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, I don't remember a song. But no, yeah, no, there's definitely, and I think that's the interesting value of it is you do. I mean, I would say there's definitely speed metal, but there was always the Cage always had a very strong speed metal vibe too, with
Yeah.
early Health Star, absolutely early Flotsam, absolutely early Forbidden, and that kind of stuff too. And maybe even because you are West Coast, you have that West Coast vibe, even early Vicious Rumors and some of that kind of stuff as well. So it probably
All
just
right.
kind of comes in, but ultimately your vocals, are what stands out because you hear that high pitch resonation, and and then of course Ripper's involved in a million bands too, and when you know his vocals right away, you know Harry's vocals right away, and even when he did the Satan's Host and stuff. So it's just so cool that you've worked with such talent, and that that you're just keeping it going. There's times I don't even want to get out of bed, so to stay
I know, man.
motivated.
I'm like this whole COVID. Everyone's in these interviews like, so how are you handling COVID? Like, oh Jesus, this question again.
Yeah, I didn't really
But
want to. I didn't want to really
to
go
me,
there.
it's been. I feel sorry for people that don't have a creative outlet like this, because most people are just get home from work and then they're turning on Netflix, like what's on Netflix tonight, and like I'm in my home studio and I'm either working on music or I've got some book stuff in the that I'm working on. I've got a module, like a kind of a Dungeons and Dragons adventure for another system that I'm going to publish. I'm working on this whole internet email marketing and Google ads and Facebook ads. I'm kind of fascinated by that now. So I got all kinds of stuff. I'm up till like 1 or 2 in the morning, like every night, just tweaking on original creative content. And so the COVID thing has been just fun for me.
All right, well, it was great talking to you. I gotta get going here,
Yeah,
but
man, that was fun. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
this was really good. So so I'm Metal Milieu. So keep checking me out at Facebook.
Now I know what's up. Yeah, hit me. I don't know why. I haven't posted a lot lately, but yeah,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
stay locked in, dude.
definitely. All right, well, it was great talking to you, Sean.
All right, brother. Talk
Take
to
it.
you later.
Okay, bye.